Welcome back to the deep dive. So you know how everyone keeps saying the richest man in Babylon? Like it holds the secrets to building wealth. Well, we're diving into a chapter summary from this YouTube channel called Online Money with Peter to see if those ancient Babylonian principles can actually help us navigate modern personal finance. I have to admit, I'm a little skeptical. Can a book written almost a century ago really offer relevant advice for today's financial landscape?
It's a fair question. What's fascinating is that while the book's setting might be ancient, the core ideas about saving and investing, even personal growth, are surprisingly timeless. It's like a financial blueprint that can be adapted to any era.
All right. I'm intrigued. So let's unpack the first principle. Pay yourself first. The source suggests stashing away 10% of every paycheck, honestly. That sounds tough. Is that even realistic for most people? Especially with today's cost of living.
The source acknowledges that it might seem daunting, but it emphasizes starting small and building the habit, even if you can only manage 5% at first. The key is to make it automatic. Think of it like paying a bill to your future self. You wouldn't skip paying your rent or utilities, would you?
I guess not, but I'm still curious, what makes pay yourself first so crucial? Isn't it enough to just save whatever's left over at the end of the month?
Let's think about that for a second. Human nature dictates that we tend to spend what's available. By paying yourself first, you're prioritizing your financial well-being from the get-go, ensuring that saving becomes a non-negotiable part of your routine.
Oh, I see. So it's not just about saving, it's about shifting your mindset to prioritize long-term financial goals over immediate gratification. That's actually pretty smart.
And there's another crucial element at play here: compound interest. This is where things get really exciting. Imagine a snowball rolling down a hill. It starts small, but as it picks up momentum, it grows exponentially. That's what compound interest can do for your savings.
Okay, that's a great analogy. I always hear about compound interest, but I'll admit, I don't fully grasp how powerful it can be. Can you give me a real-world example?
Absolutely. Let's say you invest $100 a month, earning an average annual return of 7%. After 30 years, you'd have over $100,000. Even though you only contributed $36,000 out of pocket, the rest is pure growth from the magic of compound interest.
Wow, that's impressive. It makes me wish I had started saving earlier, but I guess it's never too late to start.
Right. That's the spirit. The source highlights that. Even if you start later in life, the key is to be consistent and let time work its magic. Every dollar you save is a step toward financial security.
All right, I'm convinced. Pay yourself first and let that snowball roll. Speaking of spending, the next principle is control thy expenditures, which, if I'm being honest, sounds a bit like a scolding from an ancient Babylonian dad.
It might sound a bit archaic, but the message is relevant. Live below your means. Now, that doesn't mean you have to live a life of deprivation. It's more about being mindful of your spending and distinguishing between needs and wants.
So, the classic latte factor argument. Cutting back on small daily expenses, that can add up over time, but how do you determine what's a need versus a want? Isn't that subjective?
There's definitely a gray area, but the source encourages us to really examine our spending habits. Are those daily takeout lunches truly a necessity? Or could you pack a lunch a few times a week? Is that subscription box bringing you genuine value? Or is it just clutter?
That makes sense. It's about making conscious choices and aligning your spending with your priorities.
Yeah.
You know, I tend to avoid looking at my bank statements because it's kind of scary. But maybe I need to face my financial fears and track my spending more closely.
The source suggests tracking your expenses for a month to gain a clear picture of where your money is going. You might be surprised by what you discover. It's like shining a light on those hidden spending patterns that we often overlook.
Okay, so I'm going to take the plunge and track my spending for a month. I'm both excited and terrified to see what I find. Now, let's move on to make thy gold multiply, which sounds a lot more exciting than budgeting. This is where we talk about investing, right?
That's right. The source emphasizes making your money work for you, not just sit idle in a savings account. It mentions a few common investment options, like stocks, mutual funds, real estate, and even online ventures.
I'll admit, I get a little overwhelmed when it comes to investing. It feels like a whole different language. With all these complex terms and strategies, how are average people supposed to navigate this world without getting lost?
It's understandable to feel intimidated, but the key is to start with the basics and gradually expand your knowledge. You don't need to become a financial wizard overnight. The source suggests starting small, perhaps with a low-cost index fund that tracks the overall market.
An index fund. Okay, That sounds less scary than trying to pick individual stocks, but
Uh,
doesn't the source also mention real estate and online ventures? Those seem riskier, don't they?
It's true that different investments carry different levels of risk. The source emphasizes the importance of understanding those risks and choosing investments that align with your risk tolerance and financial goals.
So, if someone's risk averse, they might stick with safer options like index funds, while someone who's more comfortable with risk might explore real estate or even starting their own business.
Exactly. It's a personal decision based on your individual circumstances and comfort level. The key takeaway is to do your research, understand the potential risks and rewards, and maybe even consult with a financial advisor if needed.
All right, so Make Thy Gold Multiply is all about putting your money to work for you, but wisely and within your comfort zone. That makes sense. But what about the flip side of investing? What about protecting your hard-earned savings from loss? The source mentions, guard thy treasures from loss.
Right. That's an essential principle, especially in today's world, where there's no shortage of scams and get-rich-quick schemes. The source warns against falling prey to those tempting promises of overnight wealth, which often lead to financial ruin.
It's like that saying, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. But with so much information out there, how can you tell the difference between legitimate investment opportunities and those that are just smoke and mirrors?
That's where due diligence comes in. The source stresses the importance of thoroughly researching any investment before committing your money. Look into the company's track record, understand the underlying business model, and be wary of unrealistic promises of high returns with little to no risk.
Don't just jump on the bandwagon because everyone else is investing in something.
Exactly. It's easy to get caught up in the hype, especially with social media amplifying trends. But remember, investing is a long game. It's about making informed decisions based on sound principles, not chasing the latest fad.
That's a great point. It's like, instead of trying to time the market or find the next big thing, focus on building a solid foundation of investments that align with your goals and risk tolerance.
Precisely. And don't forget about diversification. The source wisely advises against putting all your eggs in one basket. Spread your investments across different asset classes, stocks, bonds, real estate, to mitigate risk.
Diversification, it's like the financial equivalent of not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Right. But speaking of baskets, what about home ownership? The source talks about make of thy dwelling a profitable investment. I've always heard that owning a home is a good investment, but it also feels like a huge financial burden.
That's a valid concern. Home ownership is a significant financial commitment, and it's not the right path for everyone. However, the source emphasizes the long-term benefits of owning a home versus renting.
Like building equity, instead of paying rent to someone else. But what about all the hidden costs of home ownership? Property taxes, maintenance, potential repairs. Those can really add up. You're right. Those costs are important to factor in. The source acknowledges that home ownership isn't always a walk in the park. It suggests carefully evaluating your financial situation and considering factors like your down payment, monthly mortgage payments, and potential maintenance expenses.
So, it's not just about whether you can afford the mortgage, it's about the overall cost of ownership and whether it aligns with your financial goals. I guess it's not a decision to be taken lightly.
Absolutely. The source also suggests exploring options like multifamily properties, where rental income can help offset some of the costs. But ultimately, the decision to buy or rent is a personal one, based on your individual circumstances.
Okay, so we've covered saving, budgeting, investing wisely, and protecting our treasures. But what about planning for the future? The source mentions ensure a future income. Is this where we talk about retirement planning?
Exactly. This principle highlights the importance of securing our financial well-being beyond our working years. It's easy to put off retirement planning, especially when you're young, and retirement seems like a distant concept.
I'm definitely guilty of that. Retirement feels so far off, it's hard to prioritize it now. But the source stresses the importance of starting early.
Right, absolutely. Time is your greatest ally when it comes to retirement planning. The earlier you start saving and investing for retirement, the more time your money has to grow through the power of compound interest.
Even small contributions made early on can have a significant impact down the road. But with so many retirement savings options, 401ks, IRAs, Roth IRAs, it can feel overwhelming. Where do you even begin?
The source suggests taking advantage of employer-sponsored retirement plans like 401k. Especially if there's matching contribution, it's basically free money.
Free money, okay, I'm listening. But what about those of us who are self-employed or don't have access to a 401k?
That's where individual retirement accounts, IRAs come in. These are accounts you can open on your own, and they offer tax advantages for retirement savings.
No matter your employment situation, there are options for saving for retirement, but isn't it also important to have some savings set aside for unexpected emergencies?
Absolutely. Ensure a future income also encompasses building an emergency fund, a financial safety net to cover unexpected expenses, like medical bills, car repairs, or job loss.
Having an emergency fund sounds like peace of mind in a financial crisis, but how much should you aim to save in your emergency fund?
The source recommends having 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses saved in a readily accessible account. This way, if you face a financial setback, you have a cushion to fall back on without having to dip into your long-term savings or go into debt.
That makes sense. It's like having a financial buffer to weather those unexpected storms. So we've covered saving for the future, but a last principle, increase thy ability to earn, focuses on the present. It's about investing in yourself.
Right, exactly. This principle emphasizes that your most valuable asset is you, your skills, knowledge, and ability to earn. It encourages continuous learning and development to increase your earning potential.
I love this idea. It's not just about managing money, it's about investing in your own growth. But with so many options, online courses, workshops, certifications, how do you choose the right path to enhance your earning power?
The source suggests identifying skills that are in high demand in your field or areas that genuinely interest you. It could be learning a new programming language, taking a course in digital marketing, or honing your leadership skills.
It's about being proactive and taking ownership of your career trajectory. It's not just waiting for opportunities to come your way. It's about creating your own opportunity.
That's a great way to put it. Investing in yourself can take many forms. Formal education, online courses, mentorship, even just dedicating time to read industry publications and stay ahead of the curve.
It's about being a lifelong learner and constantly seeking ways to grow and evolve. That's inspiring. We've covered a lot of ground today, from ancient Babylonian wisdom to modern financial strategies. It's amazing how these principles, though rooted in the past, are still so relevant today.
What's striking is how the richest man in Babylon presents these principles as stories and parables, making them relatable and memorable. It's not just dry financial advice. It's about timeless wisdom woven into engaging narratives.
I love that. It's like learning financial lessons through storytelling. It makes the concepts stick with you. But out of all these principles, is there one that resonates with you the most? One that you find yourself coming back to time and time again?
For me, it's the combination of pay yourself first,
Right.
and increase thy ability to earn. It's about creating a virtuous cycle where you prioritize saving while simultaneously investing in your own growth to increase your earning potential.
I love that. It's like a two-pronged approach to building wealth, saving diligently, while also expanding your capacity to earn more. It's about taking control of your financial future and creating a life of abundance. It's like that saying, invest in yourself, it pays the best dividends. But for someone just starting out on their financial journey, like, where's the best place to begin? It can feel overwhelming with all these principles to consider.
You're right, it can be daunting. If I had to pick one principle to prioritize, it would be pay yourself first. Make it a non-negotiable habit to automatically set aside a portion of your income, even if it's just a small amount.
So, start building that financial foundation, brick by brick, even if they're small bricks at first. But once you've got that in place, where do you go from there?
From there, you can layer in other principles. Maybe you start tracking your expenses to identify areas where you can cut back and free up more money to save. Or perhaps you explore opening a retirement account to take advantage of compound growth.
It's about taking those small, manageable steps and not trying to do everything at once, but how do you stay motivated and avoid getting discouraged along the way?
That's where setting clear financial goals comes in. The source emphasizes that building wealth is a journey, not a sprint. Having specific goals in mind, like buying a home, paying off debt, or retiring early, can provide the motivation to stay the course.
So, it's not just about saving for the sake of saving. It's about having a clear vision of what you're working towards. That makes a lot of sense. But what about those moments when you feel like you're not making progress fast enough?
It's important to remember that building wealth takes time and consistency. It's not about getting rich quick, but about making sound financial decisions and sticking with them over the long term. The source reminds us that even small, consistent actions can lead to significant results over time.
It's like planting a seed and patiently nurturing it until it grows into a strong, healthy tree. It's not going to happen overnight. But with consistent care and attention, it will eventually bear fruit.
That's a beautiful analogy. And it's a powerful reminder that financial success is within reach for anyone who's willing to put in the effort and stay the course.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful. I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on personal finance. It's not about deprivation or complicated formulas. It's about making conscious choices that align with your values and goals.
And it's about empowering yourself to take control of your financial well-being and create a future where you feel secure and fulfilled.
Well said. So, as we wrap up this deep dive into The Richest Man in Babylon, I want to leave our listeners with a challenge. Think about which principle resonated most strongly with you.
Maybe it's pay yourself first, or perhaps it's invest in yourself. Whatever it is, choose one principle and commit to taking one small action step this week to implement it in your life.
Maybe it's setting up that automatic transfer to your savings account, or finally creating a budget, or maybe it's signing up for that online course you've been eyeing. Whatever it is, take that first step and keep the momentum going.
Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And as the richest man in Babylon reminds us, the path to wealth is paved with consistent effort, wise choices, and a belief in your own ability to create a prosperous future.
Until next time on The Deep Dive, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deeper into the things that matter most to you.